Welcome back to my studio. This is Colleen with Designs of Value Art, and today, and I'm hoping you're able to see this is a 300-pound Arches watercolor paper, and I've got 5 different leaves on here, and we're going to start with the center one to begin with, and we can turn it if we have to. But the colors we're going to be using, as you can see I have laid out, the yellow is Nickel Azo Yellow. This happens to be M Graham. All 3 of the colors that we're using are. Quinacridone Rose is the red that we'll be using. It looks an awful lot like alizarin crimson. That one's also M Graham. And then Phthalo Blue, which is a very strong color, so we have to be cautious with that and how much we use. And that's an M Graham as well. So those are the 3 colors we're going to be using. And the first thing we want to do, especially since it's a 300-pound paper, is we're going to add water. But we're going to do this at least twice, just because 300 pounds paper is very thick, and we don't want our paint just to sit on top of the paper. We want it to actually get into the paper itself. Now I'm putting water on this entire leaf, and I'm being very cautious as to where I put the water. I don't want to go on outside the edges. And I just felt that we needed to do something with leaves a little differently. These are very pretty. They almost look like rose leaves. They're just some leaves that I drew up, not necessarily any style. And again, once you get your water on, you're going to want to pick up your paper and take a look at it and make sure that you haven't missed any spots. So I'm looking at the side of my paper, and there's a lot of water on there. You can probably see it moving across the paper, and that's okay. We're going to let that soak in a bit. Actually put just a little bit more water up here. And this is my water brush. I chose a different color brush to use than what I normally do. This is a Silver Black Velvet 8. And I don't put any paint on it because I don't want, as I add water, I don't want any paint in there just by accident. So this is only used for applying water. So it's still got some movement in there. And once that stops, then we can go ahead and add in our second coat. Now it looks like I might have gone over. Let me grab some fresh towels here. Paper towels. I always have my baby cloth on my lap. If you've painted with me before, you'll know. So right on this edge here, I'm just going to pick that up. Make sure we have it the way we wanted it. Okay, it looks like it's getting there. It's got a little bit of movement left, but not a lot. And I'm going to just pick up this edge over here a little bit too. There we go. Okay, looks like we're good to go. So let's go ahead and add a little bit more water. Again, 300-pound paper absorbs a ton of water. And by using just these 3 colors, you're going to see how we create some absolutely gorgeous values of green. And 300-pound water paper does have a lot of sizing in it, inside and out, so I want to make sure you get a lot of water on there. Okay, let that soak in for a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, it's still rolling across the paper. So we've got a lot of water on there, which is not a bad thing. Put my water brush up there so I hopefully don't pick it up by mistake. And put paint on it. I like to keep it only watercolor, water only. And if you look at the side like this, you can see I'm still seeing puddles on there. So we want those to go away. And it takes a few minutes with this heavy paper. It's getting there though. So let's go ahead, get my brush wet here, and add in straight yellow to begin with. And I'm going to just test this. I'm going to just put a drop. Yeah, see, that's still spreading out quite a bit. So we're going to let that soak into the paper a little bit longer. I want it to stay like where that center dot is, but what this does is it spread way out, which just tells me it's still pretty moist. So we need to let it soak in a little bit better here. Yeah, I can still see some of the water running back and forth on the paper. That's a good way to check to see if your paper is ready to accept paint. It's just touch the tip of your brush onto the paper. Let's see what this is going to do now. It's a little better. It's getting there. Didn't spread quite as far, which is good. So we're going to let that soak in a little bit longer here. But this is a fun way to do leaves, and it's a good, if you haven't done just 3 colors like this, it's a good way to practice doing your colors, choosing how you want this to look. With these 3 colors, you can create just about every single color imaginable. This is just a big sheet of 300-pound paper. I probably bought it at Hobby Lobby if I know me. And I just cut some off, and I'm going to be doing a couple more classes like this with the 300-pound. It is a much nicer, you don't have to tape it down, it's not going to warp, all of those good things. Still moving across the paper, so we're going to wait yet. Starting to get there pretty good. This will be a good intro. I'm going to be doing a large rose with a small rose bud to match. I think I still have it upstairs. Darn it, I wish I'd brought it down, but I guess I didn't. Just looking to see if it's sitting here, but I don't see it. There's my glove that I like to wear. I was looking for it and couldn't find it. I bought a silicone top for my table. It's just a thin silicone that goes over the top of your table, and then you can wipe it off. I just spilled on it with my brush. Came right up. It's absolutely fabulous. Don't have to keep buying or replacing or scrubbing. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, this is better. Much, much better. So I'm gonna roll my brush to a point. It's always a good habit to get into. We're not necessarily going to use it as we apply the yellow, but we may when we get to adding the phthalo blue. So we're going to want to get it into the corners and so forth, where the dark part of the leaves hide. What a beautiful yellow that is, huh? Really pretty. Just a little bit more water. There we go. Onto my brush, so I can move this a little bit better. It's getting there. Just keep adding it wherever you feel you need some. Okay, it's starting to soak in. That's a good thing. Okay, now I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to set this one aside because I think it's a little bit big for the next step. So I'm going to go, that was an 8. No, that was actually a 6, I believe. Yep, that was a 6. So I'm going to go down to my 4. I haven't used it yet today, so I'm going to clean it out. Sure I don't have any water on my ferrule. We're going to start by picking up just a touch of the blue. And again, you have to be very cautious. The blue is very overpowering and overbearing if you don't. So I'm going to start right where I know it's going to be the darkest, and that's going to be right up in here. Ooh, that's pretty, isn't it? I'm just dropping in where I'm going to want the dark. And that's going to soak in for a minute. I want some dark over here on this side. See how pretty that turns into a lovely green? I do want some dark actually on the inside here, down the vein. Just drop some in there. Try to get it right up to that corner up there. Or that outside edge, I should say. Now we're not going to worry about the veins or anything like that at this point. We're going to just get our values in first. Okay. Now I've got a clean, dry number 4. And I'm just going to bring this edge in. You don't want to have that spidery effect if I can help it. It's creating a lovely green in between, so we're going to have more than just those two values we started with, which is nice. The more values you can get into your paintings, the more realistic they'll look. And do this side right away too. Just periodically cleaning out the brush, dry wiping it. Here we go. Now I did create a soft green between the yellow and the blue again. It's not quite the color that I have on the leaf, which is good because we want another value in there. Bring that one up here. See what a nice value that is? It's kind of wherever you want your colors. I'm going to connect these two together this way. Yeah, that's going to be really pretty. So we've got the yellow, we've got the dark green, we've got a little bit of blue in there, which doesn't hurt, and then we've got the lighter value green. So this is going to be really lovely. I'm going to reinforce this vein here with this color as well. And we're going to let this one dry. I could actually dry it too quick, it wouldn't hurt. This is just our first layer of values, so don't be concerned too terribly much at this point. So I'm going to get it out to that edge there. Now I do want some yellows left in this area and a little bit of yellow in this area, so I'm going to go a little bit deeper with this color. As long as it's still wet and still moving and still has an even sheen, which it does, you can continue to add color. Once it starts to dry, then you want to just either dry it or let it dry. Because otherwise you're going to create blooms, and you don't want that if you can help it. I know some people do them on purpose, but I don't care for the way they look. And everybody's different, so a little bit of this over here too. So I think I'm going to take a moment and dry this. We'll try to work right straight through this entire leaf today. Get a good idea of this technique. Okay, so I'll be right back with you. Okay, got my leaf completely dry and cool to the touch. You don't want to do anything if it's warm because it's going to soak up that paint real quickly. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my water brush. We're going to coat this one more time. Now it's going to soak in faster since it's already had a couple coats of water on it. So we're just going to lay it in, and it should go right in a lot faster. But you still need quite a bit of water. I really like the way that blue turned out in those darker areas. I'm thrilled with that, but we're going to darken them up some more. That's the nice thing about watercolors, is you can go back in and darken them. You always want to save your lights as best you can, but you can always go back in and darken them. But you always want to have a, especially with your first pass like that, you want to have a light touch. Don't want it to be, if you're looking at a completed design that you're trying to copy, do not want to do the values that you see there. You need to start out lighter and build those values. Otherwise, you're going to be very heavy-handed with your values, and that's not attractive. So you need to build your values slowly. Okay, that looks good. Let that sit for a moment. Cleaning out my brush just to be safe. Now I am going to add just a little bit of water here to my palette. Don't need a ton. Create that green again. So if we need it, we've got it. Looking at the side of my, you can see I missed a spot here. Always around the edges. That's why I love these brushes. They got these nice tips on them. You can go right up to that edge. And clean it out again just to be safe. Okay, now that's had a few moments to soak in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab some of my yellow, and I'm going to clean my brush and grab some fresh yellow here. Almost got a yellow green. And that's how you can keep your palette nice and clean. Pick up what you don't want. And wipe it away. Okay, so I'm just going to reinforce. I'm going to get the drips off of my ferrule so that it doesn't drip where I don't want it to go. I'm just going to reinforce my yellows. Now these are all transparent colors, so they should look lovely when we're done. Okay, great. So we got our yellows reinforced, that's a good thing. Just a little bit more yellow over here. There we go. And go back to the blue. I'm going to add some more water to it though. There we go. Again, you want to be cautious with the blue. Got a lot of moisture on my brush, so I'm going to just pick some of that up. There we go. That worked. And deepen it over here a little bit. Also going to run this right down the inside edge of our vein. I want to deepen that area. since there's all this moisture on there, it's just gonna soften in. All right, so we're basically doing the same thing we did before. We're just deepening it a little bit more. Just a touch more blue in there. Put that where I want it. In that area, right in this area, right down the inside edge of that vein. Freshen this area. We don't want to cover up all of our yellows. It's such a pretty one. There. Now, I'm going to introduce a little red. Add some Quinacridone rose. Yep, absolutely gorgeous color. And what's the red going to do on top of the green? Darken it. As long as it's wet. Nice deep dark. My brush. Soften it in. On top of the blue, it almost gives you a magenta appearance, which is great. Gives you some more values to deal with too. I'm going to do a little bit on this tip. Of the leaf. I think I'm going to do a little bit in here too. Not a lot, but a little. Just about like that. And then we'll soften it. I don't want to lose my pretty blue that I've got on there. A little bit of detail. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to dry this one more time. Just darken the outside edge of that. A little bit better like that. There we go. All I'm doing is cleaning my brush and dry wiping it and softening it in. There we go. Okay, I'm going to dry this and I'll be right back with you. Okay, everything's nice and dry, and I'm real happy with the way it's turning out so far. I've got the 2 different values of the red, if not 3. This is pretty light, which is, this one's dark, this one's mid value, and that one's light value on the reds. So we've got the same thing going on with the greens and then the yellow. So it's got some nice value to it, which is going to create the form that we're looking for. So now I know a lot of my students have said to me, over the years, when we're doing leaves, I don't usually draw in my veins, okay? Since these are just simple little leaves, we don't need a ton of veins. But what I'm doing is I'm just picking up this really light green value that I created, and I'm actually adding a little bit more water to it, getting a nice point on there. And we're going to just draw in some veins, just so you can see it on, hopefully on camera. very lightly like that. I don't normally do this, but because I can kind of decide where I want them to go and where I don't. Now if you want to add more veins, you go for it. I don't normally. But this is kind of easy. It's a nice beginner leaf for you to see where those veins should go. Then we're going to do some negative painting on our veins. Okay, so we got our veins in there. Now, I think I am going to go ahead and create a darker green. I'm just going to grab some of my yellow here. And we'll test it on a piece of paper to see if it's going to be too dark or see how we like it. I'm going to do a touch of red in there too. That helps darken it too. Want to keep it nice and bright. We don't want, that's what the yellow's job is to keep it nice and bright. So by adding that red, it kind of dulls it down, so just keep that in mind. All right, let's do a check on this green here and see how we like it. Oh, I'd like it a little bit darker yet. Getting there. Yeah, that's the color I was looking for. So we're good there. It's going to be right in this puddle here. So we're going to do a little bit of, like I said, negative painting. We're going to go around the veins. We're not going to paint the veins in completely. And I'm doing this wet on dry. I'm leaving a center vein. So you're not going to see those veins that I put in. By the time this is all done and set, you're just going to see the negative painting part of it. Negative painting just means that you're not actually painting the veins themselves. You're going around them and creating the vein by painting the outside of them. You don't want to let that dry too quickly. So you want to soften that edge. Leave that center vein in there. You don't want to cover that up. That did turn out to be a pretty color. Now that center vein will be a different color each time as it moves down the vein, because it's darker up here and lighter down there and all of those good things. So it's going to be, which makes it look more realistic too. Okay. See how that's creating that vein down the center and how it's soften that in. I just dropped my cloth. Darn it, so I'll have to grab another one. Never fails. Okay, let's do our last little vein here. Now I'm exaggerating these veins so that you can see them. So all that is wet on dry, and then you soften the edge so it doesn't look harsh. Okay. Create a little bit more of that darker green again. Unbelievable how much you go through. So it was just a touch of red. Quinacridone rose with the phthalo blue, and then just small touches of the yellow. That looks good. Okay. Now I like to offset my veins. I don't want them all coming out from the same area. Just do it this way. And again, like I said, I'm exaggerating these so you can see them a little bit better. Since everything's drying so quickly here all of a sudden, I'm going to just make sure I get that softened in right away. There we go. Leave that center vein. Just run your moist brush right flat against the paper. Soften that edge. You don't want to have a ton of water on your brush, but you don't want it to be dry either. Just creating a little bit more of that value. adding values as we go. Which is good because then you're not absolutely perfectly stamped out. I mean, this isn't a stencil where you have the exact same color every single time. Nope. And you don't want that because it just doesn't look realistic. And I clean my brush a lot and dry wipe it so it doesn't have a ton of moisture, and it just helps to pick up and spread that paint and give it some moisture to flow into. Right. This one's kind of bled in, but that's okay because that's the way the veins look sometimes. So, okay. Just soften that edge there. A little bit more. Now it's darker up at the top. So as the vein comes up, it gets darker and darker and darker as it comes up this way, and that's good. That's what you want. All right. Now I think I'm going to deepen this just a tad. Doesn't have to be a lot, but it looks a little washed out to me. It back up. Just the tip of your brush. That's better. Okay. Now I think I'm going to bring some of the red down in here a little bit too. I'm going to add just a little bit of water to do that. Soften that inside edge a little bit. I think we're going to do a little bit more there too. I'm going to add a little bit of water. Just soften it in a little bit better. Really weren't seeing that red too much before. What that does too is it helps the green get darker. I went on the outside there, so I'm going to just bring it out a little bit. Sure you can see me, and it looks like you can. Okay, just a little bit of the blue. Gives it that magenta look, which I like. So this was a really good beginner's leaf. This is one way to do leaves. And since I've got 5 on there, we're going to be doing different ways on each one of the leaves. So different styles of painting. So this one's pretty much done. The next time we'll do at least one of the leaves, if not a couple, and go ahead and do a different style. This was with the negative painting. We don't have to do that with all of them. Deepen that red a little bit more right in there. And a little bit more of the blue. So I'm going to dry this and then we'll see you next week. Now if you want to see more content like this, please let me know in the comments. Hit the like button to let YouTube know that you like it. You can also check me out at patreon.com/Colleen D. Aiken, and you'll get to see me teach all the classes from beginning to end, stroke by stroke. So we'll see you next week.